The transmission arrived without warning. Across every screen on Earth, government networks, private channels, even civilian devices, the message forced its way through. A towering alien figure stood in a vast chamber of polished metal, flanked by armored guards. His deep-set, black eyes gleamed with cold amusement as he addressed the people of Earth. Humans, the voice was deep and full of disdain. You stand at the edge of a great decision. The Galactic Senate has deemed your species insufficiently responsible to govern yourselves. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle before continuing. You will submit to the authority of the Senate. Your military will be dismantled. Your planet will pay tribute. You will take your place as a vassal race under our rule. Resist, and you will be destroyed. The broadcast ended as suddenly as it had begun, leaving a stunned silence across the planet. In the war rooms of Earth's greatest nations, leaders sat frozen, barely able to process what had just happened. The demand was absolute, an ultimatum with no room for negotiation. Inside the United Nations Emergency Council, chaos erupted. Some argued for surrender, saying Earth had no hope against an advanced interstellar empire. Others demanded immediate retaliation, though none could say how they would fight a force that spanned the galaxy. An old general, his hands folded on the table, spoke with grim finality. They didn't come here to negotiate. They came to break us. Across the world, the public response was raw and immediate. Some feared annihilation, while others burned with fury at the thought of bowing to an alien overlord. News channels speculated wildly. Had humanity been watched all this time? Why now? What did the Galactic Senate truly want? But deep beneath the surface of fear, something else was rising. A realization. Humanity had always been underestimated. In a hidden military facility far from prying eyes, a group of scientists and strategists gathered around a massive holographic display. The alien fleet hung in Earth's orbit, an undeniable symbol of power. Yet one man, a figure standing in the shadows, observed it with a quiet intensity. "They think we are weak," he murmured. His voice carried an edge of something that sent a chill through the room. "They think we will break." The head scientist, a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper mind, studied the incoming data. "They don't know what we've been preparing," she said. The man stepped forward, into the glow of the display. He wasn't a politician or a general. He was something far worse, something the Galactic Senate had never accounted for. A survivor of every war humanity had fought and won against impossible odds. His voice was calm, certain. "They want an answer," he said. "Let's give them one they'll never forget." You said. The Galactic Senate expected fear. They expected surrender. What they did not expect was silence. For the first few hours after their ultimatum, Earth did not respond. No messages were sent. No diplomats begged for mercy. No desperate attempts at negotiation. It was as if humanity had frozen, unable to process the weight of its impending doom. Then, something strange happened. Earth's military forces did not stand down. Instead, encrypted signals raced across hidden networks. Underground bunkers, long thought abandoned, roared to life. Factories that had lain dormant suddenly lit up with activity, their assembly lines working at a pace no one had seen in decades. Satellites shifted position, adjusting their orbits in ways that suggested something was being prepared. Something big. The Senate's envoy, the one who had delivered the demand, watched from orbit. His lips curled in amusement. "They scramble like insects," he muttered, reclining in his throne-like chair aboard the command vessel. "They are not preparing for war. They are in denial. Soon, they will see reason." But deep beneath the Earth's surface, in a facility known only to a few, humanity was preparing for something the Senate had never imagined. In a reinforced war room, the most powerful leaders of the planet sat in tense silence. A single figure stood at the front, the glow of holographic displays casting harsh shadows across his face. He was not an elected official. He was not a man of diplomacy. He was something older, something forged in fire and conflict, a soldier who had seen the worst of humanity and knew its greatest strength. "They expect us to bow," he said, his voice like iron. "They expect us to fear them, to submit." He turned, his gaze sweeping across the room. "But they have made a mistake. They do not understand what they are dealing with." The head scientist, the woman who had been watching the data from orbit, nodded grimly. "They have seen our world from the outside," she said, "but they do not know what we have hidden." A screen flickered, showing schematics, technology that had never been revealed to the public, advancements that had been kept in the shadows for a moment, just like this. Ships that had never flown, weapons that had never been fired, defenses that no enemy had ever tested. The soldier exhaled slowly, then spoke the words that would change the fate of Earth. "Prepare the response." And across the planet, a single message was sent back to the Galactic Senate, a message that was not a plea, not an apology, not an offer of surrender. It contained only 5 words. "Come and take it." The Galactic Senate's fleet loomed over Earth, a monstrous display of power that had crushed countless civilizations before. Their envoy waited aboard the flagship, expecting a surrender, expecting fear. Instead, he received a reply that sent a ripple through the command deck. 5 words. Simple, defiant. "Come and take it." For a moment, silence stretched through the massive bridge. Then laughter. Cold, dismissive laughter. The high-ranking officers of the fleet smirked at one another, exchanging knowing glances. They had seen defiance before. It always ended the same way. The envoy's amusement faded into mild irritation as he addressed the fleet commander, a towering reptilian alien named Sci-Fi. "The humans believe they are warriors," the envoy mused. "They believe their spirit will save them." He turned, watching Earth through the viewing panel. "They will learn." Sci-Fi grinned, baring serrated teeth. "Shall we make an example of them?" The envoy nodded. "Begin with their defenses. Show them why resistance is hopeless." Down on Earth, the world watched in tense silence as the first alien vessels moved. They were testing the planet, probing its limits. A single warship broke formation and descended, its weapons charging. The broadcast reached every corner of the planet. The Galactic Senate wanted them to see, wanted them to tremble. But the humans did not tremble. Instead, in a hidden base deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a single command was given. Fire. A streak of light cut through the sky, faster than anything the Senate had accounted for. A weapon that had never been acknowledged, never displayed, never even hinted at in any intelligence report. The first enemy warship never had a chance to react. One moment, it was descending with arrogance. The next, it was gone, ripped apart in a silent explosion that turned it into a burning cloud of debris. On the Senate flagship, the command deck erupted into chaos. Officers scrambled, their displays flashing red. Alarms screamed. The envoy stood frozen, his arrogance cracking as he watched the impossible unfold. "Impossible," Sci-Fi hissed, his claws tightening against the armrest of his chair. They destroyed a Senate warship." The answer came before he could finish. Across Earth, more weapons came online. Hidden cannons that had been buried for decades. Orbital platforms that had never been revealed. Ships that had never left dry dock. Until now, the humans had never stopped preparing. They had simply never told anyone. And now, as the first true shots of the war rang out across the void, the Galactic Senate realized the truth. Humanity had been waiting for this. "You said." Panic rippled through the Galactic Senate's fleet. The humans had struck first, and with deadly precision. The warship that had attempted to make an example of Earth was now nothing but burning wreckage. Its destruction had been instant, with no distress signal, no countermeasure, no chance to retreat. A single shot, and it was over. Sci-Fi bared his teeth in fury. "How?" he roared, slamming a clawed fist against the armrest of his throne. "How did they do that? Our intelligence reported primitive defenses. His officers scrambled for answers. The envoy, who had once spoken with absolute certainty, now stood stiffly, his face pale. "We miscalculated." Another alert screamed through the bridge. More human weapons were coming online. More signals, more energy surges. Earth was not a helpless world. Earth was a fortress. On the planet's surface, the humans did not celebrate. There was no cheering, no arrogance, only calculated action. Military commanders moved with precision. Orders were given. The hidden war assets, long thought to be myths, mere theories buried in classified files, were now very real. A fleet of human ships, sleek and black, began rising from secret launch sites. Some broke through hidden hangars beneath the oceans, water cascading off their hulls as they ascended into the sky. Others launched from deep within mountains, long buried under false landscapes. These were not the slow, bulky ships the Senate had dismissed as inferior. These were predators, silent, fast, deadly. From his hidden command center, the human general, the man the Senate did not know to fear until now, watched the enemy fleet scramble. He saw hesitation, uncertainty. "They expected fear," he murmured. "Let's give them something else instead." His hand hovered over a control panel, then pressed a single button. Across Earth's orbit, something else activated, something unseen by Senate spies. A planetary defense grid. Thousands of small satellites, once disguised as simple communications devices, now flickered to life with one purpose: destruction. Sci-Fi's fleet barely had time to react before the storm began. Hundreds of energy lances fired from the hidden satellites, streaking toward the alien fleet. Some ships managed to activate their shields just in time. But it didn't matter. These weapons were built for war, built for this moment. Explosions blossomed across the void as the first wave of Senate ships vanished in fire and metal. On Earth, the human general watched without expression. He had seen war before. He knew what came next. The Senate's fleet would not retreat. They would not accept humiliation. They would strike back. And humanity was ready for it. "You said." The Galactic Senate's fleet hesitated for the first time in its long history. This was not how wars were supposed to start. They had expected submission. Instead, they were burning. Sci-Fi snarled as more red alerts flooded the bridge. His fleet, the armada that had conquered countless worlds, was being shredded. Human weapons, advanced, precise, and terrifyingly effective, were tearing through shields like they were nothing. "This is unacceptable," he bellowed, claws digging into his chair. "Regroup the fleet. Crush them." But his officers hesitated. They had never seen resistance like this. The humans were not acting like prey. They were fighting like apex predators. Down on Earth, the human general remained calm as his operators relayed updates. Enemy forces regrouping. Counterattack imminent. Good. He turned to his second in command. "Deploy Phantom Wing. Let's see if their elite ships can handle something they can't even detect." A silent order was transmitted. Across the planet, hangar bays deep underground opened for the first time. Then they rose. Dark, almost invisible against the void, Earth's true warships slipped into space. These were not the bulky, slow-moving craft the Senate expected. These were stealth predators, built for one thing: ambush. The Senate fleet sensors never saw them coming. The first explosion took out a command cruiser, its bridge gone before its crew could even scream. More blasts followed, ships detonating in rapid succession, torn apart by weapons they couldn't detect, from ships they couldn't see. Sci-Fi's eyes widened. "Impossible," he growled. "Where is this fire coming from? Find them." But there was nothing to find. Aboard the Senate flagship, the envoy felt something new creep into his mind. Not anger, not frustration. Fear. He turned to the fleet commander. "We should." Before he could finish, another explosion rocked the ship. This one hit too close. Alarms blared. Consoles flickered. Crew members shouted over one another in panic. Sci-Fi's scaled face twisted into a snarl. He had never lost before. And yet, before him, his fleet was dying. He slammed a fist into his control panel. Enough. Fire everything. I want that planet reduced to ash. Earth's skies lit up as the Galactic Senate's true wrath was unleashed. Their weapons, their might, their vengeance. The battle had only just begun. The void above Earth erupted with fire. The Galactic Senate's fleet, humiliated and enraged, unleashed its full fury. From the Senate flagship, Sci-Fi watched with burning hatred as his warships fired their orbital bombardment weapons. Massive energy lances, each capable of erasing entire cities, streaked toward Earth's surface. This was no longer about victory. This was about vengeance. The envoy stood frozen, his earlier arrogance shattered. They should have surrendered, he murmured. They should have known better. But even as the weapons streaked through the atmosphere, the humans did not panic. They executed. On Earth, deep within an underground command center, the general nodded as alerts filled the room. Orbital strike detected. Weapons impact in 12 seconds. Engage the Aegis system, he said calmly. Around the planet, long dormant defense stations roared to life. Gigantic pulse arrays, hidden within the Arctic ice, deep ocean trenches, and even the deserts, locked onto the incoming barrage. And then, Earth struck back. Blinding flashes lit the sky as the energy lances were intercepted mid-air, detonating harmlessly before they could reach their targets. The ground forces never even flinched. They already knew the outcome. The Aegis system had been waiting for this. Sci-Fi froze. No, that's impossible. Earth had just defied the unstoppable. The envoy took a step back, his mind struggling to process the reality before him. They blocked an orbital strike. His horror deepened as his officers shouted over one another. We're losing ships. They're everywhere. They're inside our ranks. Phantom Wing had struck again. Human warships, invisible, undetectable, had maneuvered through the chaos and were now among the Senate's fleet, tearing them apart from the inside. One moment, a Senate battlecruiser was charging weapons. The next, it was sliced in half, its wreckage tumbling through the void. One by one, more warships fell. Earth's hidden strength was no longer hidden, and the galaxy was watching. Across the galactic network, other civilizations saw everything. The live broadcasts, the footage, the undeniable truth. Earth had been underestimated. And now, as the Senate fleet desperately tried to regroup, one terrifying fact settled over them like a shadow. Humanity was not losing. They were winning. Sci-Fi's claws dug deep into the armrests of his throne. His fleet, his unstoppable armada, was being annihilated. The humans were not fighting defensively anymore. They had stopped resisting. They were hunting. More of his warships exploded in sudden, violent bursts, torn apart by invisible attackers. Phantom Wing was relentless. The Senate fleet's sensors couldn't track them. Their shields couldn't stop them. Their weapons fired blindly into the void, hitting nothing but empty space. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. Pull back, one of his officers shouted. We need to retreat. But Sci-Fi refused. His fleet was the Senate's fist. It had conquered 100 worlds, crushed countless civilizations, turned entire species into obedient subjects. They were the rulers of the stars. Yet here they were, running. A transmission suddenly cut through the chaos. It wasn't from his fleet. It was from Earth. The human general's face appeared on Sci-Fi's display, his expression unreadable, his voice calm. You sent your demand, the human said, and we sent our reply. The transmission cut off. Sci-Fi's blood ran cold. That wasn't a threat. It was a warning. Then the final blow landed. All at once, Earth's orbital defense grid unleashed its full power. Not just defensive countermeasures, not just interceptors, actual weapons. 100 energy beams lanced out at once, Each one locked onto a Senate warship. Each one found its target. And in the next instant, the fleet collapsed. The Senate's mighty armada, the one meant to break Earth, was reduced to shattered metal and drifting wreckage. Silence filled the command deck of the flagship. The mighty Galactic Senate had been defeated. Sci-Fi's breath came in ragged gasps. It was over. Earth had not surrendered. Earth had not bowed. Earth had stood alone and won. You said. The battlefield was silent. The mighty fleet of the Galactic Senate was gone. Only wreckage remained, drifting lifelessly in Earth's orbit. Sci-Fi stood frozen, his scales slick with sweat. He had never lost before. Not once. Not ever. And yet, here he was, surrounded by the broken remains of the most powerful armada the galaxy had ever known. His officers were silent, their faces hollow with disbelief. The great Galactic Senate, the ruling power of the stars, had been humiliated. A single transmission came through, piercing the eerie stillness. It was from Earth. The human general appeared once again, his face as calm as before. "Your fleet is gone," he said. No anger, no gloating, just a fact. Your war is over. Sci-Fi's jaw clenched. His pride screamed at him to deny it, to fight until the last ship, to burn Earth down even if it meant his own death. But he knew the truth. He had already lost. The human continued, his voice unwavering. "You came here expecting our surrender. You came believing your rule was absolute, that Earth would fall like every world before it." A pause. "You were wrong." The bridge of the Senate flagship remained eerily silent. No one dared to speak. "You sent your demand," the human said, his eyes like steel. "And this was our reply." Sci-Fi's exhaled sharply, a reply that had shaken the entire galaxy. The transmission cut off. No further threats, no demands for terms, nothing. Because Earth didn't need to demand anything. The galaxy had already heard their answer, and it would never forget.